We're in my kitchen because we're cooking hammocks today. Well, I'm not making an entire hammock from scratch, but this last Christmas I got this hammock. It's by Adventure Research. This is actually the Adventure Hammock System. It comes with a hammock with a built-in mosquito net and a tarp. And there are some things I liked about it and other things I wanted to improve. So today I'm going to do some customization and some modifications to this hammock. This is not a how-to video, but more of showing you the process of some of my ideas and how I went about doing it. So let's get going. Included in the system is the hammock, the tarp, a few stakes in a little stake bag, a piece of shot cord with some cord locks, and these 4 pieces of string, which are garbage. The hammock with the included mosquito net and really simple suspension weighs 1 pound, 5.8 ounces. Hopefully these modifications don't add too much to the weight. And just for fun, the tarp by itself without any lines weighs 1 pound, 2.1 ounces. So here it is, the Adventure Hammock. Simple gathered end, parachute nylon, zippered entry, mosquito net. Requires the ridgeline on top to attach the mosquito net. It's got these basic ropes and hooks for the suspension. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to replace the suspension with a ring, buckle, and webbing. We'll have some AMP steel continuous loops, then a ring, buckle, and webbing suspension with carabiners at the end. I'm going to add a structural ridge line throughout the inside that this mosquito net can then drape over, and you can use it for hanging stuff. And I'm going to sew some little loops and create some pullouts. I think with those simple adjustments, I can make this hammock pretty awesome. Here's a close-up of the webbing strap that we stitched. We just put 8 bar tacks along one end with a fixed loop now. I chose red for the head end, red for head, so that when you pull the straps out of the stuff sack, you know which end is the head end. It makes it a lot easier to orient your hammock the right way wherever you're going to camp between the 2 trees. And we'll show you how to hook this up. But basically the carabiner goes in here and then goes around and clips to itself around the tree. The next step is to take the cinch buckle. I was going to use ring buckles, but I found these cinch buckles and thought this might be a less expensive and easier way of attaching this. Again, I'm thinking of ease and convenience, especially for my son. It is attached to a continuous loop of AMP steel, which I made. I spliced this together. This is not a how-to video, so I didn't record myself making this loop, but I will link below the video that I found that showed me how to do this. It was very simple. And then we're also going to attach a fixed or a structural ridge line to the hammock at the same time. Again, I spliced in a loop at the end of this piece of AMP steel after measuring it. I'll link the video for this because it's a little bit different process, very similar. And I just like, look, I could have just tied a knot in here and tied a knot in here as well, but I think it looks nice and clean, and it was kind of a fun little craft project to put this together. So let me show you how we're going to do that. I don't like these rope and hook suspensions. I just don't think they're very adjustable, at least not as finely adjustable as the webbing and the buckle suspension. Also, these can be kind of heavy. These buckles, the big stainless steel buckles, and this rope is thick and heavy. But because it's a gathered end, all we're doing is we're replacing this with this, threading it through. And one way that I've done it in the past, I've used the old rope to thread the new one through. So here we are, and then we'll somehow tie this on so that when we pull this out, it'll attach to that as well. And there we are, out the other end. This side's got our cinch buckle. So now we'll just untie this. And we run this through here. that's it. But I'm gonna have to loosen this here in a minute because now I need to attach the ridgeline, which needs to go underneath the net. So I will need to cut a tiny hole in the mosquito net just to this side of the stitching. And I'm gonna try to make a small hole as possible. Hopefully with this experiment it doesn't tear. If it does, we can try to patch it up and reinforce it. But for now, let's trim a little hole and we'll go from there. Just gonna use my super sharp little scissors on here. I found the center. Trim a tiny hole in there. Just enough for the AM steel to pass through. Come through the other end. Pull all this through until we get to the other loop. Okay. Now we just need to attach this to here. Like so. Pull that nice and tight, and it'll definitely tighten up once you get some weight in there. But that's it. Got this end attached with our structural ridgeline going through a tiny little hole. I might go back and hand stitch around the sides of this so it doesn't break or doesn't tear as it's on there. But just gotta do the other side, and then we'll be ready to string this up, put the ties on for the pull-out loops, which I'll show you a close-up of those. They're a little long, but that's not going to affect anything. I just want to make sure I had enough material. Wasn't sure how far I wanted to go up, but went up a couple of bar tacks worth, and I think this is going to be just fine. Not a ton of pressure is being put on this because of the bungee, but I guess time will tell how well this holds up. So here it is with the new suspension, the AM steel loops, cinch buckle, webbing, and the ridge line. Here are also the loops for the pullouts that we stitched on. There's two on each side, obviously. So right now, I'm going to show you how I'm going to attach these lines. It'll be larks headed to one side, and then just tie a bow line to the other side, and then we'll attach the bungee. There's not a lot of room in here to guide this out, but we'll try to get a little bit of an idea of how it's going to work. So this line is called Reflect It. It's a Zing It type line with little reflective tracer in there. So when you hit it with your headlamp or your flashlight at night, it glows. Now I'm going to attach a small S-beaner so it can slide around and move really easily. And then I'm going to the other end of the S-beaner, clip reflective and glow-in-the-dark shot cord with a cord lock and some knots tied in there for the stake. So now I just need to do the other side and we should be all set. Okay, this side's pretty terrible because I just don't have enough room, but it's better than nothing. But it shows you tied to the tie-outs, to the carabiner here, little S-beaner, and then to the shot cord. And this allows it to slide. And the other side, which had a little bit more room. So I'm gonna climb in here and show you what it looks like inside of it. I think it can be pulled a little tighter. One thing about this, if you can see, even with the pullouts, this mosquito net drops down in your face. And I think it's because how it's meant to be hung, they needed more netting. And so there's too much netting for how I've rigged this now. So what I think I'm gonna do is gather up the extra netting, stitch across the top a few times to reinforce it. I'll turn it inside out to do that, to make it look cleaner, and then trim off what I don't need. Hopefully I can keep these little pockets on and be able to use those. I'm not going to do that until this spring when we have a chance to lay in it and test it out, and because I don't want to do any permanent adjustments to this net until we know for sure that's what we want to do. And just for fun, here is the Tarp wanted to show you a couple things I did, nothing too complicated, but I put some zing at the end, which is a very strong and lightweight line with little Dutch flies to make adjustment super easy. My room is not wide enough to really pull this thing taut, but you get an idea. And then on the corners, to guide out, I put that same reflect it line so that you're not tripping over the lines all the time. This is not, like I said, a how-to video, so I didn't go into a lot of detail of how I did these things, but it seems pretty simple. Some sewing, some tying, and mostly I copied what other hammock manufacturers have done because I like those features. And this is also not a full review of this hammock or the modifications I've done because I haven't had a chance to sleep in it. I haven't had it outdoors. And until then, it's hard to know exactly how this is gonna work. So this spring, when the mountains thaw out, we can get this out there and maybe I can do another video talking all about that. So anyways, the end.